One of the things that I'm asked over and over again is there something I can do that would really, really make a difference in my leadership ability, that would make me a great leader? And is there some way that I can help my employees to grow and develop that will really, really work? And over the years, what I hear is story after story of people getting feedback and it not working, whether it's getting it for yourself or getting it for your employees, and it just doesn't quite make it happen. Well, I'm going to teach you something today that will take about 5 minutes for you to learn, and it will make a huge difference for your ability to get feedback for yourself and implement it, and to give feedback and help the people you're giving the feedback to implement it, that will really begin to change behavior. I've been using this technique for over 25 years with great success, and so I know it really works. So let me tell you what it is. It's a very simple it's a very simple thing. It's a scale of 1 to 10. You know, normally when we give feedback, we might say, well, you're doing fair, you're poor, fair, good, excellent. But those aren't ways that the human brain knows how to measure or to make improvement on. And this particular method, the 1 to 10 scale, actually is something the brain grasps and gets right away. So if I ask you just to think right now on a 1 to 10, with 10 being the healthiest that you could be feeling right now, and 1, you're almost in the coffin, think about what number you are. Now that particular number, I might have a different number. Like right now I would say I'm a 9, and you might have a different number than that. But that number is always going to be the same for me. It's going to be consistent in my scale, and it will be consistent in yours. That's an important thing to remember, so it doesn't change. You're going to, if I ask you tomorrow how you feel, you're going to be using that same way of rating the 1 to 10. So the 1 to 10 means, as a leader, what you end up doing is, and I've had this happen where I have one man who was a territory manager. He actually is now a vice president, and he would ask people to give him feedback, and they would just say, well, you're doing okay, or you might improve your speeches. And then he started doing it differently. He started saying, would you be willing to give me specific feedback on how I'm doing in giving speeches in our monthly meetings? What number would you give me right now? Well, at first people were a little uncomfortable about doing it, but they went ahead and said, well, I would give you a 6. Then he would ask the next question, and that is, what would I need to do to make it a 6.5? What do you think I would need to do? Now, that's really interesting. You see, what people want to do is they want to go to a 10. Okay, this is what you would have to do to be a 10. The minute you go from a 6 to a 10, you've lost it, because people just can't change behavior that quickly. But almost everybody can change a half a point. And so that's all you ever ask is, what can I do to change a half a point? So the question is, what can I do to change to be a 6.5 instead of a 6? And let's say in this particular instance, the person said you could slow down your rate of speech when you're giving the presentation. Then the next question is really important, and that is, great, I'm going to work on that this next month. Would it be okay with you if I check with you next month to see how I'm doing? So what you do is you do the meetings. You can even call the person, say after the meeting, and say on a 1 to 10, how did I do? But let's say you wait till the end of the month, and then you go back and say on a 1 to 10, how did I do? Well, you were still a 6.5. Really? So was I still speaking really fast? Well, you slowed down a little bit. But I guess maybe what it is isn't how fast you're speaking. It's that you're not ever looking up at the audience. You're looking down at your notes or the slides the whole time. Okay, so if I was going to be a 6.5, I need to look at the audience more. Is that right? Yes. Okay, I'm going to do that. And can I check with you next month? Yes, you can. So you keep doing that until the number goes up. And as in that example, a lot of times what happens is when you go back to the person, they might refine it or change it a little bit. They might have given you what they thought was what they thought you needed to do, and then they change it the next time. So that's how you do it with somebody that's giving you feedback as a leader. But let's say you want to give feedback to one of your direct reports. And let's say this direct report is showing up late for work once in a while. So I'm being on time. I would give you, I'm going to say your name is John. I would give you a 5 on being on time. And is that something you would be willing to do? Now you've got to get them enrolled. Is this a change they're willing to make? Yes, I'm willing to do that. Then the question is, what number do you think you are? Well, I think I'm a 6. Now we got to get our numbers in alignment. We got to find out why he thinks he's a 6 and you think he's a 5. But once you get that in alignment, then the question is, okay, John, what do you think you could do so that you would get to work on time more consistently? What's something you could do a half a point better than the 6 that we've both decided you are? What would you do to raise that? Well, John says, well, one thing I could do is I could set my alarm for half an hour earlier because I only live 5 minutes away from the office, and I'm usually getting up 20 minutes before I'm going to leave, and it seems like it's taking me longer to do things than I thought it would. Okay, let's try that. So he tries it for a week, a month, it could be a day, comes back to you and he says that works. So what number would you give yourself now? Well, I'd probably give myself a 7. Well, I'd give you a 7. So what would you need to do to get it a 7.5? Well, I think I'm going to have to actually get up an hour before I'm going to work. Great. So then you do that. So this system of having a way of numbering it and then coming back and asking how that went and then recalibrating and deciding what you have to do to raise it a half a point. And it even works if the person went the other direction. So let's say John, we both decided John was a 7 and now he goes down to a 5. So the first question is, what do you think happened that made you go to a 5, and what will you have to do to raise it to a 5.5? You don't go to the 7 that he was at before. We got to start with where he is and raising it from that point. This is so powerful. I have used this for 25 years with all kinds in different companies, in consulting with CEOs, with vice presidents of companies, with supervisors, territory managers, and that what they tell me is it totally changed their management style, how well they were able to implement their feedback for themselves and the feedback they gave other people. So I hope you take this idea and you actually put it into use tomorrow at work. Find someone that you can ask, how am I doing? And can you give me a rating on a 1 to 10? Pick some specific item that you'd like to find out about and how you're doing in your leadership style. Ask a person that you trust and feel like would be honest and give you some good feedback. That's a good person to start with. Try it out. The more you practice and use it, the better you'll get at actually implementing it, and you will be amazed at the results you'll get and how much more successful you will be in your career. Thank you.